Guys, you shouldn't, but if you happen to have a pirate copy of this, then I really suggest that you go and purchase a copy. It really hurts people like us who are athletes and trying to make a living out of this. All right, so this instructional series is going to be on leg locks and the particular leg lock game that I like to play. So there's going to be a strong focus on the 50-50 and some of the variants of that, which we'll go into. Just a little background. Probably even since I started jiu-jitsu, I was always kind of a little bit interested in leg locks. I think I probably only first really started to get into it a bit deeper around 4 or 5 years ago when I started watching some of the Danaher guys and Eddie Cummings implementing this against some high-level competitors, and probably prior to that, having watched some of Ryan Hall's stuff, that kind of got me into 50-50 heel hooks and working a lot from there. On top of that, I'm a physiotherapist. I have a PhD. This is my thesis on knee injuries. So I think I can provide a slightly different view on like the mechanics behind leg locks and how that relates to how we actually do our leg lock finishes. So this instructional series, I really want to cover what my main focus is nowadays for leg locks. So I probably used to play what I would consider a more traditional, or the current sort of traditional leg lock style, which is more outside ashi and the saddle. But nowadays I almost always am looking to get to 50-50 and a position we call 80-20 and outside Senkaku or 90-10 as well. We haven't really got the exact name for that, but to me, I'm looking mostly for these positions. I think I'll give you my reasons, but I think they're a superior leg locking position. So that's the focus is going to be of this series is going to be on what I currently am doing for my leg locks. So in jiu-jitsu, it's pretty hard to when you're training so much, it's pretty hard to know how much information's come from where and who, and you pick up different details and things along the way from different people. So a lot of this is stuff that I myself have come to learn, and just from playing the leg lock game. But I will recognize that there are some people along the way that have influenced my jiu-jitsu. Sometimes it's hard to tell. I'll try to shout out to them when I know that I learned that particular technique from that person, or if they've showed me that particular variant. And each of these people, if you can check out any of the instructionals they're all really high quality competitors and coaches, so really you should check them out. Probably as I mentioned earlier, I started with Ryan Hall's instructionals. He's got a great 50-50 instructional, which probably got me started in playing the 50-50 position. This would have been a good 10 years ago or so. After that, watching the Danaher guys and Eddie Cummings, I was already playing a single leg X based game, so I was playing a leg entanglement based game, and then seeing how easily I could transform that into a strong leg lock attacking game really got my focus on the leg locks again, after spending a long time focusing more on more position based jiu-jitsu. So it would have been a good 4 or 5 years ago. Since then, obviously with Craig and I sort of worked a lot together trying to develop our leg lock game, and he's had a massive influence on my leg lock system. I've been to seminars from people like Jason Rao, who's fantastic, really good leg locker. I know he's got an instructional out, so please check his stuff out. And probably on top of that, these guys aren't leg lockers so much, but like the Miao brothers, I think are probably the best in the world at getting to leg entanglements. And I've studied a lot of footage on how they approach their entries, and that's actually probably they don't tend to go for their leg lock finishes as much, but I think they're probably the best in the world at getting to the leg entanglements that I like, which are going towards the 50-50 sort of region. So they've had a big influence on my game here as well. All right, so it's really important that you understand what the positions of the leg entanglements are, and you've got the right naming of those positions, just so when I'm describing something, because often if I'm describing something from a certain position, but you got the position wrong when you're practicing it, then it's not going to work how it should. Okay, so first thing we can look at is just like whether the foot's on the outside or across my body. Okay, so when it's across the outside here, that's what we're going to go for. Usually we're looking for the outside heel hook here, and when it's across my body, we're looking for an inside heel hook from here, okay? So their legs either on one side or the other, and then my feet are either central on one side or the other, and there's some slight variance in this which we'll go through now. So let's just go through the naming of each of these positions. So generally, if the foot's on the outside and my feet are on the outside, this is the outside ashi position, or outside ashi garami, which is obviously a name that the Danaher team had come up with. So feet are on the locked on the outside, foot is on the outside, okay? We'll consider when my feet are in the middle, so like kind of more centered, they're not both on a particular side. This is we'll just call this single X, okay? Obviously we're down now, but these same positions would have the same name if Kaya was standing up. This would still be single X, and that would still be outside ashi, and the ones we're about to go to would still have the same name. It's just they can be from lying down or from standing, okay? And we'll say, this one, this is kind of like a reap position. I tend not to use this one too often, but it is one that you'll see come around a little bit as well. So this is with the foot on the outside. Now let's go foot on the inside, okay? So if my feet are on the outside and the foot's across the body, this is 50-50. So you can actually see Kaya and I have the exact same leg position here. Right? So that's why it's called 50-50. It's technically considered even, although if you know what you're doing and you get the right positioning, it's not an even battle. If my feet are on the inside from here, this is what we'll call the saddle, okay? So see, Kaya's legs across my body and my feet are on the inside. All right, now let's just go back to 50-50 and go through some of the variants of that. So 50-50 is here. If I free my knee from 50-50, we'll call this 80-20, okay? Because it's no longer an even position. My knee is free, I'm pretty safe from being attacked. So the odds are in my favor, we'll call it 80-20, okay? And then we've got the 90-10, or we decided to call it as well the outside Sankaku. So instead of it being the saddle or inside Sankaku, we have the feet are locked outside the legs, okay? And this is what we call 90-10, or the outside Sankaku. So this one's gonna have my foot in front of his stomach and my leg coming over the top, locking like a triangle here, okay? So this one, in my opinion, is the best position to get to attack leg locks from. All right, so this series will have a very strong focus on the heel hook compared to other leg locks. Why? Because it's just much higher percentage of a finish, particularly the inside heel hook. So when the leg is across my body, I can attack the inside heel hook here. Okay, this by far is the strongest finish, and you can do there's much more potential for serious damage, which is much more likely to have your opponent tap. So there are other leg locks. There's knee bars, there's toe holds, there's straight ankle locks, calf crushes, all those things. My experience is sometimes you get people who tend to focus, they become like the calf crusher guy at the gym, which is nice, but it's just nowhere near as high percentage. If you're gonna put your effort into something, like put it into the thing that's proven to be successful against high-level competitors repeatedly. Of course, sometimes you can catch a calf crusher on someone high level, but it's nowhere near as common as you'll catch a heel hook. So if you're investing your time on the thing that works the most, that's going to be the best value for your time. So when should you tap to a heel hook? It's a tough question to answer. There's a lot of factors and variables involved in that. My experience has been that in training, there's not too many injuries, just because like if I'm applying the heel hook, I'm going to be nice. I'm not just gonna, like if Kaya here was not tapping, I wouldn't just go, screw him, I'm just gonna crank it. I'm gonna really slowly apply pressure, and if he just really wasn't gonna tap, I'd probably let it go. I'd rather that than to injure him, okay? And similarly, Kaya doesn't want to get injured, so he's probably more likely to tap, okay? I think the problem is when people get into competition, then, and depending on even in some competition, in a local tournament that had no meaning, I probably wouldn't try to absolutely crank a leg lock. I would probably, put good pressure on, but at a slower pace, okay? But in like an ADCC competition, I'm going to put as much force as quickly as I can, and it actually leaves very little time for the person defending to tap. Often, actually, by the time the hands are connected, there's already some damage being done, okay? So by the time I've got my lock, my hips are driving in, there's already like, for the time it takes for me to recognize that he's tapped and then let go, often there's already some pressure on the knee. This is obviously at a very high level, but I see a lot in just local tournaments, people get injured from heel hooks. So my advice would be if you get caught in a heel hook, then you pretty much, as soon as you realize you cannot, like I've caught the heel here, Kai would try for a moment to slip. As soon as he realizes he can't slip, that's probably the time to tap. Now, the more experienced he gets, he might then learn that there's some other counters. Let's say we're in 50-50, he might have his hands in play and some other ways of defending there. But as a general rule, as soon as you get your heel caught here, before they've actually got their bridge in, now's a good time to tap. If you wait till they start to bridge, you're already going to start to get injured, okay? And what I'd say on top of that is get a trusting training partner and start tapping, usually quite early, and then build up, like learn your defenses when you can and can't tap, and then you can start to like feel when it is really on and when it's not, okay? And when you can slip your heel and when you can't. But when you first start, better to tap early, okay? For some reason, there's some people, even people at our gym, that I've told dozens of times, like you really need to be tapping much earlier than that. They still, I don't know why, they just don't listen, and they still often wait too late, and then you see them in competition, they get injured. I'm just going to talk about how to train leg locks if you're starting from the beginning, okay? So I think one of the biggest problems or barriers is oftentimes we're quite fearful of the leg locks, and you don't really learn very well if you're so worried about what's going to happen. So if Kai is getting me in he's going for my leg, and if I'm really scared and I don't know what I'm doing, then I'm probably just going to like try to hold on to things for dear life, and I don't really learn anything about this. This is the wrong way to escape, by the way, but like if I don't feel comfortable, I'm not even going to try the proper escape, because I don't feel like, I just want to get hold of things and hold on as much as I can. Okay, so what I recommend if you're just starting out with leg locks is train the positions and don't even do any finishes yet. Try to practice control in the position. You'll start to learn how to escape from when they've got you in the position, and how to hold on when you've got them in the position. And actually, like, so let's say we might start in any of those positions we talked about earlier. So let's start from the saddle, for example. I would say to Kaya, I'm going to try to keep position as long as I can. You try to free your knee, okay? So if I get confident that, hey, when I get the saddle, I can hold this for 3 minutes straight, then I'm not going to be any rush to get the heel hook, and I'll be happy to put it on nice and slow, and it's safe for Kaya. And also Kaya learns like, hey, when someone gets me in the saddle, I know how to I know the directions I can turn to get out, when I can free my knee, when I can't, and so on. So you can learn it in a safe way, and then you can start to progress from there. So then maybe you might look for like single-handed finishes, or even just catch and release. So if I catch the heel, you consider that a win, and we go back and we try from the positions from there. Then it might be try to finish with the one arm, which is obviously a bit harder than when our hands are connected, and then you can start to progress to when two hands are connected. So that's a good progression to go through to get comfortable in learning leg locks without panicking, and eventually you start having really good rolls and know exactly what you're doing from there. So if you're new to leg locks, I just want to quickly cover what I think you should learn, or how you should learn this, and because there's a lot of information. What should you go through first, okay? So we're going to be mostly focused on the 50-50 position. So go through all the leg lock concepts, leg lock concepts, and then just start learning how to dig the heel and catch the basic heel hook from this position. And then everything should then lead off that, okay? So learn how to dig the heel, and also learn how to upgrade your legs to outside Sankaku. Everything should then lead off that, in terms of people are going to react in different ways, and I cover all of that. So you can then build your game off that positioning, okay? I would also learn, if Ed stands up in my 50-50, he's standing, the first thing I'd try to learn is just how to tilt, expose the heel, and catch from there, right? And then again, everything builds off that position. In terms of entries, I suggest at first, if you're very new to it, the easiest one's going to be trying to elevate to single X, or to go for the basic K-guard entry. Okay, so if Ed's on his knees, or if he's standing, my aim will be to just lift his legs up, make him stand, and get to a leg entanglement here, pretty much put both feet on the hips, lift my hips, and take his leg across the other side, okay? And then you're gonna have 50-50, right? The other one that I would suggest you learn, obviously I go over these in more detail later, if it's on his knees or standing, is the basic K-guard entry, where we put our knee inside, grab the leg, and we pull the knee up. You feed your outside leg over the top, and you're now in 50-50 or outside Senkaku from here. So if you start with those techniques, and then you have that's like the framework that you build the rest of your game off. It's going to make it really easy to follow what's inside this DVD. So the way this instructional is set out, I'm just going to kind of run through how it's set out essentially. So we start with concepts and the main things that I think are important to know and understand to be able to play the leg lock game. I think these are really important, and that's the most important part for troubleshooting, right? After that, we get into the leg lock finishing mechanics. Okay, so and these are general, they're general, but they apply to pretty much all of the leg locks. So whether you're doing inside heel hook, outside heel hook, whether you're doing the saddle, outside Senkaku, outside Ashi, however you're trying to finish, a lot of these heel hook finishing mechanics apply. So going through that. Then we go over counters, like what are the main ways that Kaya could prevent me from getting the heel hook. The next section then is countering the counter. So how do we actually, when Kaya is doing the correct thing to escape, what are the main ways that I deal with that, all right? After that, I go through the pros and cons of each of the leg locking positions, and then we get into the 50-50. So then we go through the 50-50 position where we've both got our legs here. What am I thinking and what are my options from here? From the 50-50, we then work to outside Senkaku. What are my options from here? We then go through when Kaya is on top of 50-50 here, how I can attack him from here. First going through like the leg lock stuff, and then later we go through some of the sweeping and back take options we've got from the 50-50 as well. We then go through when I'm on top of 50-50 and how I can work to attack Kaya or potentially free myself and maintain top positioning. We cover methods for like when Kaya's knee is free, like when we both slip the knee here, how I can try to pull him back and regain the leg lock and heel hook attempt. And then again, distal control sequences from like when I don't really have my legs attached at all and I'm just attached to the end of the leg, how can I attack from here, try to reclaim the knee line or try to catch the heel and then work to get the finish, and that's from the foot on the inside and the foot on the outside. Cool. After that, I go through how to counter leg lock attempts. All right, so how do I counter the traditional leg locking positions that Kaya might go for, such as the saddle and outside Ashi? We go through that. After that, we go through entries. Okay, so the three main the main entries we work are from the inside positioning. So if I have my feet inside, usually working to get to a leg entanglement from here and starting to eventually work across towards 50-50. Okay. That's the inside positioning, and then we go for outside positioning. Okay, K-guard, working from here. So that's our from like an open guard position. How to get from there, and we work from De La Riva, like this. Where I'm trying to get to the leg from here. Reverse De La Riva, where I can work to get to 50-50 from here, and also just like general inversion attempts where I can start working into K-guard to get to the legs. From there, we go through into entries from on top. So Kai's down, how I can start working to get heel hooks from top position and set up leg locks from there. Then we go to entries from standing. So Kai's up, ways of getting in to the legs and starting to set up a finish. And then lastly, I do a little like summary which contains things that I think people should try, the moves you should try to drill a lot. All right, so a lot has changed even in the last year or two in what the current trends are in leg locks. For example, watching the North American ADCC trials, which is probably it was on the East Coast trials, and I think they're probably the part of the world that's most up to date with leg locks generally. And I think from what I counted, there were more 50-50 heel hooks there than there were from saddle and other positions like outside ashi. Okay, so people are starting to learn how to defend these common positions. I'm certainly leaning towards a more 50-50 or 90-10 outside Senkaku sort of attacking system. Okay. So what you're seeing happen more now is from when people are going to outside ashi, they're finding that people are getting very good at not exposing the heel and actually looking to then set up back takes and a lot of counters from here. So sometimes it can often be we'll see some scenarios where it's a bad position to go to the outside ashi. From the saddle, we're finding people are tending to get good at rolling out. This is an escape that Craig and I put on YouTube a long time ago. I don't know why, but it's a lot of people still don't do it. But basically, if you just keep hiding your heel and turning, it becomes very difficult for your opponent to catch the heel, because the direction you escape the saddle is the same direction that hides your heel. And so you're seeing people go to 50-50, which is a harder position to escape, and therefore I think you get a bit more time to start to set up the attack you want. We're seeing a bunch of new entries to the position as well. So a lot of people, it was always thought like inside leg positioning, if head's on top, that I always want to have my legs inside to get into single X and kind of work from there, which still is okay, but we're now seeing a lot of outside leg positioning, which we'll cover here, which can start to lead us through to positions like 50-50 and heel hooks from there. All right, so with this instructional being focused predominantly on getting to the 50-50 and the outside Senkaku, you might wonder, like, do I have to learn the other positions first, like the saddle and the outside ashi, for example, which the more traditional leg locking positions? I would say you don't have to. Like, obviously you need to learn how to counter them, which we're going to have in this series, but you can definitely funnel your attacks straight to the 50-50. To me, it's maybe similar to saying, like, do you have to learn to open the closed guard from kneeling first before you learn how to do it standing? Like, obviously the old way was to do it from kneeling, and then now most people do it from standing up. I usually teach my students straight away the most current thing, because I think the quicker they learn what's current and what's best, it's harder to counter. So I suggest that you can go straight into this. You don't have to do the other positions first. All right, so we're going to go through the anatomy of the knee and the ankle and how that relates to heel hooks. And hopefully by the end of it, you'll understand that there are three main different ways you can potentially finish the heel hook. So we'll just borrow Kaya quickly. They are, we can do a rotational finish, we can do a bridge finish, and we can do the like extension finish where we're extending the rotated knee. Okay, so three different ways of finishing the heel hook. We'll have a look at why that is the case. All right, so I mentioned before that I'm a physio, where and we're going to go through the mechanics of the heel hook, and what you'll see is that it's actually three different ways we can approach finishing the heel hook, three different mechanisms, and I'll show you the biomechanics behind how they actually work. Okay, so you've got the knee joint here. The knee joint basically is mainly meant to bend and straighten. Okay, so there's your femur here, this bone, and your tibia here. And they mostly bend and straighten. There's a little bit of rotation as well. So the joint can actually twist kind of like this as well. So that's what allows your foot to rotate, or what can also allow your knee to kind of twist like this. But there's basically no ability to adduct. So your knee can't twist like sideways, all right? Because on the inside, you've got this medial ligament. The medial ligament here prevents, so if someone was to crash across the side of your leg like this, that puts pressure on the medial ligament. The ligament's supposed to stop that motion, but if the force is too great, that injures the ligament, right? On the same thing on the outside, you've got your collateral ligament here. And again, if someone was to put your knee outwards, that would injure the lateral ligament. Okay, so our inside heel hook will tend to have some pressure on the medial ligament depending how we apply it, and our outside heel hook will tend to have pressure on the lateral ligament depending on how we apply it. And then within the joint, you have your ACL and your PCL, which basically both sit in this cross like this. They're called the cruciate ligaments, which basically means cross in Latin. And they sit within the joint. They tend to get injured. Well, the ACL stops if your femur, your thigh bone was fixed and your shin was to move forward relative to that, it stops that move, essentially stops the femur sliding back over the top of the tibia. And the PCL does the opposite. It stops the femur sliding forward over the tibia, okay? And then you've also got your meniscus, which, imagine you've got this bone here and another bone sitting on the bottom, which is your tibia and femur. It's bending and straightening and a little bit of twisting. To add a bit of extra support, you've got this like cartilage, which is, imagine it like almost like a rubber sort of substance that will collect around the outside of the joint and try to add a little bit of stability. So that's your meniscus. It's kind of malleable. It will move as your bones move to kind of mold and fit the shape of the joint and give it a bit of extra stability. But if you twist too far and the joint happens to slip further than it should, that can tear the meniscus. So especially with sort of rotational injuries or when things move a little too far in one direction, then that will often injure the meniscus. All right, so now we'll just go through a little bit of the range of motion, especially in rotation. Okay, so your knee can rotate. If you look here, so my ankle can turn sideways, right? That's just my ankle. If I just move my ankle, but I can also rotate with my knee, okay? You see I get a bit of extra range. So my knee actually physically, my shin will move like that, or I can fix my shin and have my ankle move just a little bit too, okay? When you fully lock your knee straight, your knee cannot rotate at all, right? It's locked in, and that's important. So when you bend your knee, it has some ability to rotate. When it's fully straight, it can't rotate at all. And that's going to be important for heel hooking mechanics. All right. So let's have a look at now that we know that, let's have a look at the 3 different ways we can finish a heel hook. So I'll borrow Kaya here. Kaya's going to jump in, and he's ridiculously flexible. So it's not going to be an exactly the same as what it would normally look. Okay, but so we can finish with rotation. Okay, so if you bend the knee a little bit and you start to twist the heel like this, you can keep twisting, and eventually just the pure rotation will cause the submission, right? You can finish by a bridge. So if I can get my hips to the side of the knee, I can bridge against, putting pressure on the MCL here, like so. Okay, you see that? All right, now it's really important that you get some rotation first before you put that bridging pressure. Why? So if I just kept Kaya's feet facing upwards, right, and I bridge, watch, his knee moves, but it doesn't actually cause him to tap, okay? What you need to do is first rotate the heel. Okay, now if I bridge, much more likely to tap, okay, because he's got such flexible knees, we're gonna have to go all the way to here. Okay, now if I go, see how his knee barely moves and he'll tap. So what's happening? As I said, the knee can't bend sideways, but it looks like it is when I do this. It looks like the knee's actually bending sideways. It's not, it's the hip rotating and the shin like taking up slack by outwardly rotating. And if you don't first rotate the heel and you try and apply a side knee bar, it won't work. So when we do our heel hook, we're aiming to take up the slack in the rotation, and then we put our bridge in, and you'll see his knee will barely move in space, and there's pressure to get the ligament. Whereas we don't do that, if I caught it here, it's gonna bend, and there's no pressure is gonna apply, all right? So these are the two, like the rotation and the side bridge into the knee are the two obvious ways we can finish a heel hook. There is one other way, which I occasionally use, which is, I talked about the knee cannot, it can rotate when your knee is bent like this, you can rotate quite a lot. Look at that, okay? Look how far he can turn. The more he straightens his leg, the less that is. Now it only goes to here, okay? So if we start from a bent position, rotate it as far as we can, like all the way maximum, and then we start to straighten the leg, it's not gonna go, okay? It's gonna get jammed, because it's not meant to be, it cannot be in this rotated position when you start to straighten it. So we can apply that as a finish, where sometimes if I'm here, often this is before I've like got my legs in really good position, before I've caught the knee line, I'll often put like a lot of rotational pressure, have a bent knee, so see, I'll even like push in, bend the knee here, and watch this. My left leg can come over, start to straighten the leg, and that will get the tap, okay? So the actual mechanism for finishing there is me trying to straighten his knee and maintaining that rotation in the heel. Very different to the bridge, okay? So it's not a bridge, it's a close off over the top of the knee, straightening a rotated knee. One thing to note with this, just in terms of anatomy, is Kaya's hip can, like if he's fully straightened his leg and you start trying to rotate, he can rotate his hip, okay? So his hip joint will assist, and that will look like he gets a lot of rotation, okay? Whereas when the knee is bent, if he was to rotate the hip now, it would look like that. So that's not going to assist him in like hiding and taking pressure off the heel. So often we do want to have a bent knee, because now his hip can't rotate to take that. Like he can rotate his ankle now and his knee to try to hide his heel, but he can't add his hip to hide his heel. When his leg's straight, now he can add his hip in, and he gets a lot more range to start making it difficult to catch. Another thing to think about, like sometimes, actually quite a lot of the time, I'll do a heel hook on someone and like, oh, that was my ankle, not my knee. And like, first of all, I don't really care. Like often by doing the correct pressure here and like taking up that slack in the rotation, often Kaya might feel that, I don't know if you feel your ankle there?
No.
Knee, okay. Yeah, sometimes you'll feel that he's crazy flexible, so who knows what's going to be first with Kaya, okay? But sometimes they'll feel the ankle first. To me, that doesn't bother me. Obviously, the ankle is part of one of the structures that they might tap to. Usually, if they're crazy, and they don't tap to ankle pressure, which some people that I compete against are like, then I want to get the knee. But that, to me, if they say it was the ankle, I'm like, that's fine, because that's on the way to me then getting like pressure in on the knee, okay? Often I have to first get the ankle, like take up all the slack there, because I'm rotating like this, and then I can start to get the angle to put the pressure on the knee, okay? So don't worry too much about whether they're tapping to ankle or knee pressure, as long as you're still thinking about aligning your hips up to the side of the knee to get that bridging finish. That should be your end goal, and if they tap earlier along the way to something else, that's fine. When looking at these like general concepts that apply to leg locks, two really important things are controlling the knee line, so being able to either prevent them freeing their knee or pulling their knee back in, because once they've freed their knee, you won't get the heel hook from there unless you've actually got the knee line. And the other thing is controlling rotation. Okay, you actually need to be able to control their ability to rotate left or right. Okay, because if Ed rotates this way, I can't catch the heel. Okay, once I've got the heel, he doesn't want to turn that way. Once I've locked this in, if he turns that way, it just injures his knee. But I also need to stop his ability to roll outwards as well, because if I catch the heel and I don't have any control of him rolling that way, he's going to get out too. Okay, so we also need to understand how to control rotation and what some of the ways we can go about doing that are. So in this section, we're going to go through different ways of keeping the knee line or preventing them from clearing the knee line. So we're going to cover a few of the concepts that I just think are really important that apply for all heel hooks before we get into specific leg lock scenarios and how to deal with the individual positions. Okay, so first one, like keeping the knee line and drawing the knee line back in. Okay, so basically, how do we, once I have the knee line, so let's say I'm here, and what I mean by the knee line is basically if Kaya's knee is past the line of my hips, or at least in line with my hips here, I can finish a heel hook. Okay. As soon as his knee is like back here and it's freed from my hips, if I try to finish the heel hook, he can always just roll with it, and I never get to control his rolling. So if you roll that way, okay, he's out of the leg lock. All right, so we need to keep the knee line. Let's have a look at a few of the mechanisms we have to try to do this. And these concepts to me are a most important thing to understand about leg locks, like how to control things. This is what I look at whenever I troubleshoot. Like if I try to go for a leg lock and Kaya gets out, I usually look, I didn't control this or that along the way. So look back at these concepts. Okay, so one of the first things we can do is just have a tight squeeze. Okay, so a good triangle. What I mean by that is you want to, like, ideally our triangle is not just like locked at the knee here. This is okay, right? So like if I do a maximum tension here, and Kaya starts to free his knee here, he'll tell you that's tight, but he can probably move, okay? Because if you look at like if I put my foot behind my knee here and close off, there's still some gap, okay? What I want to do with my triangle is align my shins like this, okay? So you see that both in the same line. Pull my knees as far as I can there, and I want to catch mid-calf, okay? So see how instead of hooking my left foot to my knee pit, as I like to call it, I'll put it in the calf, okay? Because watch now. Now when I back heel with my right and my left leg, that will completely close off that gap, okay? So it's a tighter position. If you watch here, if I back heel, it adds very little to close off my left leg. But if I put it at the calf, now when I back heel, it pulls my left leg down. So now both are kind of doubling up on that pressure. Okay, so if we go back to that. If I now get that triangle, so I align my shins, push, pull, and I curl my heels back towards my butt. So strong back heel. Really important to have a strong back heel if you want to do leg locks. So both my heels pulling towards my butt. Now if Kaya goes to remove that and scoots back, it should be very difficult to free his leg. Okay? It should drag you along the mat. So this back heeling action, we use this for the saddle or even from the outside Ashi position, like when we lock up our triangle, we want everything nice and tight like that. It's not just, I was talking about my heels pulling back, but the other thing I didn't talk about is actually you want your knees pulling to your chest too. It's gonna help draw the knee line back in. So if you watch this, if I'm lying back like this and I back heel and Kaya starts to, you can see, yeah, the knee's starting to free. If I instead start to like pull my knees towards my chest, it just makes the leg like close to me. I can even like grip onto my own legs and pull tight here, okay? So my chest starts to come in and add pressure to that too, right? Pull back now, okay? That should feel like very tight, yeah? Yeah. Okay, so just go back, just put your knees a bit tighter together, yeah. Because you see how it's open, it's hard to get that like shin position. So knees tight, push, pull first, yeah, and then lock up your shins, and then pull your heels both, keep your knees like that way, yeah, and pull your heels back towards your butt. Good, yes, okay, good. Not bad, let's, pretty good. So it's back heel, knees towards your chest, chest forward, and kind of, yes, good. And that's not going anywhere, okay. So one of the best things you can use to stop someone from freeing the knee is bending the knee. Okay, so if Kaya's leg is straight, then there is no resistance. If he starts moving back, like all I've got to rely on is like friction from how tight I can squeeze, and hopefully something gets jammed like along the way. But if he scoots back here, it can be tough to hold on, especially once it's slippery, okay? And especially if he starts kicking with his free leg. If you're able to bend the knee, so if you can put pressure behind the knee and more pressure down at the ankle as well. So let's just say like this, okay? I've opened my leg, I'm not even doing a triangle now, but I'm driving my hip in to the back of the knee and putting pressure at the ankle here. So Kaya, free your knee now. You see he's gonna drag me along the mat because it's like his calf is just gonna, when he moves away, his calf is just gonna pull my hips with him, okay? So if you can force the knee to bend, if you look at that again, just go back, by putting one foot near the hip, one out like your elbow, right near the ankle. So we've got two large levers, and then we're pushing right into the fulcrum with our hips, opening out to actually get more pressure. I'm bridging off the ground here. I'm arching my back. Everything's just applying pressure to bend that knee. It is really difficult for them to free their knee. And this again will work from like a cross leg position here, with the legs across the body, or we can go outside heel hook position, try and free your knee. Okay, again, this can work. And this can be a great way to start to set up your heel hook too, because you can often expose the heel as you do that. Another way we keep the knee bent is actually just like using the pressure between my thigh here and my chest, so and often my armpit as well. But a lot of the time you'll see me doing like a real curling with my leg and curling down with my torso here. So like I'm just on this side causing this to happen, but with my chest or my armpit here. Okay, so you see that keeps Kaya's knee bent. If he tries to straighten his leg, that will fight against it. Okay, and this is really important for catching heel hooks, especially when you don't have good control deeper on with your legs. We can be here, we can be digging the heel while they can't straighten their leg and get out. One thing you're going to do a lot is, well, what you want to get good at is adjusting the amount of bend in the knee by using your legs. Okay, so basically my inside leg can like bend the knee, and my outside leg can start to straighten as well. So often, while I'm trying to dig the heel, I might be bending the knee up like this. See my inside leg here starting to come up. The more I do that, the more that's going to bend the knee. And if I want to straighten the knee, my left leg will be closing down on that. Okay, it can be here, I can be bringing it over the top, but we're going to use this quite a lot when we're trying to catch the heel. We can use like the bend in the knee to stop people freeing from 50-50, a slightly different way, but essentially if we're in the 50-50, you can think about just if I push the foot down to the ground. So if Kaya's foot's on the ground, then it's basically impossible for him to put his knee on the ground. Yeah? So if I've jammed here, it will put your knee down. It will lever his knee out, so I can put pressure with my hand, my body, or whatever. So if Kaya's trying to free himself from the 50-50 and all I focus on is this, so it's essentially by like bending his knee and drawing it in, try and put your knee down. Yeah, as long as his foot's stuck, he's going to be stuck, okay? We'll also use this bending the knee thing if we go belly down, and so turn belly down as well. And Kaya's trying to run away from here. Actually, maybe we can turn. Okay. So if we're here, Kaya's trying to run away. If he straightens his leg fully, he's going to be able to run. Okay. But if I can just force a bend in the knee here, he tries to free his knee line. He can't, and I can even use that to trap the knee line again and reclaim to catch the heel hook. Yeah. Alright, so Kaya's going to go. Good. So see how you're still in line with me? Try to bring your chest back there, so elbow tight. Yeah. Even if you have to post on the mat, like really arch your back. Face the ground a little bit with your chest. Yes, good. Flare this out, good. Okay. Really hard to free my knee now. Excellent. So, controlling, like how high should you lock on the hips? It's a pretty tough question to answer. So for control, if I don't want Kaya to free his knee, then the higher I lock on his hips, the better it is. But this is not as good for finishing, okay? So if I bridge actually my hips driving into his thigh and not his knee, it's nowhere near as much pressure to finish. So you just have to look at the phase you're at as to what you want, okay? Often early, if you're trying to look for control of the position, I might lock up here. But if you watch this, if I bridge here, okay, took a fair bit of force. If I change, now my hips at the line of the knee, it'll take way less force to get the finish, okay? So you also have to gauge this against like the height of your opponent as well, all right? So let's say Kaya stands up and we go like outside leg positioning. If I'm an outside Ashley and I lock up at the hips here, I have I'm way overstretched out. I can't really move him at all. Look at my back and everything. Like I'm gonna have much more success being able to like extend my back and like curl in and out if I'm down near the knee. The disadvantage is by going close to the knee, it's closer to him freeing his knee as well, okay? But you have to, like, that's why I actually think outside Ashley against a tall opponent who's standing is a terrible idea, because you're not going to be able to hold the knee line well, and if you're up here, you're not going to move them at all. Another important consideration in stopping the knee line from being cleared is the most powerful tool Kaya has to free his leg is his other leg, okay? So if he brings his left foot to start kicking, okay, it's really hard for me to keep the knee line, all right? So pretty much, especially in positions like the saddle, it's not such an issue. In outside Ashi, it's harder for him to get this leg in, especially if you've got high hip position. Okay, the more you move down towards the knee, okay, yeah, he can start to bring his foot in and he'll free, okay? But definitely more so in positions like the saddle. You want to look immediately to try to control that far leg. If I can hold that leg, it's really difficult for Kaya to escape from the position. All right, so controlling the far leg, really important. Same for positions like outside Senkaku, although it's much harder from here for him to get his foot in to kick because my leg's over the top. I still often want to look to this leg so that he can't wedge that in and start freeing himself. Other things we'll use, more like distal control now to free the knee when I don't have control of the hips. Often I'll hold the top of the kneecap, and if I just pull my knee tight to my chest, so you can see that alone is like a little bit of a pinch. I can hold the kneecap. If you start freeing your knee here, Kaya, I can let you follow, and I can start to like twist. If I can turn the knee inwards, then I get some of that bend going, so start freeing now. I can stay attached like so. We can, if you lose the knee but you hold the ankle, so like obviously I've lost the knee line, but I don't want to lose the leg completely. I can hold like an ankle lock grip, so just make sure you hook right behind the heel here with your forearm up. So if you free your leg here, moving backwards, okay, I can follow pretty well here. Other grips I like to use instead of this, you can literally, with your heel hook grip, if you do a false grip, so palm up, and I pull back, I get my chest over the top, like so. So you see how my elbow and my chest are like pinching together over the foot, and I'm pulling back like this alone. So if Kaya like tries to run away, just go straight back, yeah. That's gonna allow me to stay attached, and then obviously if you can pull yourself back in, reaching behind the knee, over the knee, pull yourself back in, you're straight into a heel hooking position. So this false grip has a single-handed grip, is really nice, where your other hand can help with the grip fighting or pulling in. Another one I use, turn around this way. Use this quite commonly. Actually, I have not got the knee line yet. I'll get like a rear naked choke grip. So it's like my elbow is at the back of the Achilles, and I pull that tight and I grip like this. It's like a rear naked choke, but I'm not squeezing with my right hand. It's actually pushing. I'm pushing that ankle against my bicep to maximize like how stuck that heel is against my forearm here. Okay, so I'm kind of pushing it right into the elbow, and I squeeze my left arm tight to my chest like this. Okay, so now everything locks in, but it's definitely not pulling with that. It's pushing it, like locking that here. Okay, so you see, you can probably feel with that, Kaya, like if you try to pull your heel free, it's stuck. Okay, and we've locked up the rear naked choke, which gives us extra rowing in without my like elbow going towards my chest here. Okay, so pull away, not going anywhere, and then again you can be using that set up your leg positioning, and now I've caught the line of the hips. Yeah, so now the first one is just like, so if you've just got the ankle lock grip, pull your chest tight and pull your knee to your chest as well. So yeah, see how you like, that alone can be tight, and then I'll often hold the top of the kneecap. Because see how it's like, if you curl down a little bit this way, like if you can force my knee to this side, yeah, so if you can like force me to rotate in a bit, it's hard for me to straighten my leg now. And I try and pull away, and you've locked in there. Sometimes it's here, sometimes you might feel better like underhooking and pulling there too for different grips, okay? Now try the false grip. Good. Okay, so chest faces down a little more. Yes, good. Do you feel the difference there? Okay, so if you're facing up, like I can start like slipping that. You get your chest, yes, good. Okay, so that alone, and then this one might hold the knee, or top or whatever you feel gives. Probably here is going to be better, but if I try and pull away now, it'll drag you along the mat, right? Good. All right, and then try with this one, the rear naked choke one. This is probably the harder one to get. So let's say you don't have any leg control yet. Okay, good. We get there here a lot. We'll see it with the entries later, but okay, go back. So pull this elbow tighter to your chest. Yes, good, excellent. You lock the back of the Achilles there. Good. This one is going to push my grab leg a little closer to the ankle. and push it into like you're putting pressure straight towards your elbow. Good. And then lock. Now that you've got that, this one can stay open a little bit, but do like, grab your shoulder and row your left elbow towards your chest. Good. That feels really strong. Okay, so if you open your legs, don't hold me at all with your legs. Okay, really hard for me to free that, right? Even if, sometimes people keep that, some people keep your grip. It's really hard to free from that, okay? So if you've got that, you can then be looking to circle over and regain the knee line. Just talk a little bit about how to reclaim the knee line when you've lost it, okay? One of the most common things I do is try to bend the knee and usually to like kind of bend and rotate the knee, and you'll see that'll start to suck his hips forward. We'll probably get a good example of that here. So if I hold the back of the knee, his knee is past the line of my hips, right? I can often put pressure like with my elbow here, and then I start to like bridge in, and you'll see that sucks the knee forward and back in, and I can start to lock it in so that my hips its knee is past the line of my hips. Okay. Another example of that is, which I use quite a lot when you turn belly down. Yeah, so from the 50-50 actually, turn face that way. I use this heaps. Ed's freed his knee here, so you see it's past the line of my leg. I will sit up, and I will then, like, by bending the knee, I can drag it back in, and you see his knee has been sucked back in, okay? You wanna try that, Ed? Just go from here, yeah, so hold your nose, alright? So you're gonna, yeah, good. Try to, it'll be hard while, see how I'm on my right hip, it's like try and turn my knee, so you just like, even if you reach, so one grip you can use is like gripping to here, yeah, and just start turning my knee this way, and then like arching your back into my leg. Yes, see how that drags my knee forward? Now you got the knee line again. Good. Another way to try to reclaim the knee line, it's a very common one that I'll use. I've lost the knee, and I'll catch this fight leg, for example, is like rolling through and rotating. So if you get good distal control, so like I'm holding this rear naked choke grip, for example, or it could be a false grip or whatever, often by like rotating and coming forward. So Ed can't really move away, and I can't, he's probably gonna block me just coming straight at him, but often you can sort of like swing over and roll, and then lets your hips shoot back in past the knee line. Okay, so you can often find funny angles by rotating and pummeling your legs to get your the knee back past the line of your hips. Another option, I should go from this side. Another option is, like you've lost the knee line, you see this quite a lot. If Ed's scooting back and making a lot of space, is I can come up and then start to step forward. Okay? That can bring my hips back past the knee line. So as long as you've got like some control of the ankle, this is often a possibility. Again, Ed frees his knee, scooting back, and I can start to come up, lift up, and it's hard for him to like scoot back faster than I can run forward. So I get my knees in place, and then I start getting the knee line again. All right, let's go through a summary now of the ways we can try to keep the knee line. All right, so I've got Kaya here. Kaya's down. I can have a tight triangle, okay? If I've got a really good triangle, it's hard for Kaya to free his knee. I can control the opposite leg. Okay? When I do this, his biggest weapon to try to free himself is his free leg. If I'm holding onto that free leg, he can't free. It's gonna be hard to kick away. Okay? If you're not holding that, they can start to kick and start to make space. Okay? Bending the knee. This is extremely important. Okay? If I'm able to put pressure down near the back of the ankle and pull my hips into the back of the knee, Kaya tries to free himself. The fact that his knee's bent is going to stop that. Okay. We can use grips like a grip on the top of the knee here. We can use an ankle lock grip. We can wedge our hand underneath. All these things are going to help to like stop them from scooting away. And lastly, like getting belly down. Actually, sorry, pinching here between my knee and my thigh and my chest is really important here, because this alone, without even bending the knee, like having this pressure here can often make it difficult for Kaya to free the leg.
the heel hook grip itself. You can do that as well. If we get a good false grip, that can stop, and chest pressure on the leg can stop Kaya from freeing his knee. And lastly, if we go belly down, okay, so often when you get here, belly down like this, you often do, I mean, it works off bending the knee, but when I'm belly down, it is much harder for Kaya to free his leg than when he is facing upwards. All right, so we need to control rotation. Let's have a look at how we do that. So I don't want Ed to be able to turn too much in either direction. It's going to give me problems. All right. So first of all, leg configuration plays a massive part in this. So let's have a look at the saddle. Oh, actually, let's look at 50-50 first. Okay. So Ed wants to point his toes this way and make it hard. I can't dig a heel hook right now, but because of my leg position, this is a strong position for me to counter that. If I just move my knee in, you see it's hard. It's actually kind of hard for Ed to stop that. I can keep his heel exposed just because of my leg configuration, okay? That's my right leg. Let's now look at the saddle where I'm like this, and my right leg has way less ability to do that, okay? Because my left leg over the top and my right leg here, I can't like cut across with my right leg. So if you keep your foot hidden, I can't expose the heel nearly as well from the saddle as I can from 50-50, okay? But we also need, then we have the opposite problem where because of the 50-50 configuration, it's much easier for Ed to roll this way. So potentially, if we go back, if I were to catch the heel hook and he wanted to roll from here, he might definitely be able to unwind the heel hook, okay? We have ways of dealing with that, which we'll go over. Whereas with the saddle, this leg does a great job at stopping that, okay? So by having this over the top, if I caught a heel hook, which is one reason why saddle's a really strong finishing position, just by like applying some pressure with that leg, Ed can't really roll that way. Okay? It's just very difficult to roll through the pressure that I can apply with this leg, okay? So it's just understanding like your leg configuration and how that's going to influence how well you can expose the heel and also your finish, okay? Let's just quickly look at outside Ashi as well and the finish. So, and actually the reap versus the outside Ashi. The reap, excellent for exposing the heel. If I do this, the heel gets exposed. Horrible for finishing, okay? Well, now Ed can roll with it and I have very little to counter him rolling that way, okay? Does that make sense? It's not horrible, but it's harder to finish, okay? That's why often people will reap to expose the heel and then they'll shoot this across. Now Ed tries to roll and this will at least like cut against that and I can apply like good pressure with that, okay? Go the other way, the outside Ashi position is really difficult for me to expose the heel, okay? Because this leg does very little to lift the leg up compared to the reap, okay? But once you catch the heel in outside Ashi, it's now very difficult for Ed to roll out of, and I can use this leg and the bridge from that leg to apply good pressure to finish the heel hook. This is something you see a bit from the saddle. A lot of people try to control rotation by holding the toes. So it's obviously, as I talked about earlier, getting to the toes is the biggest lever to start to try to rotate the knee joint. It also offers as a counter the pressure, like if I get this, Ed doesn't really want to start rolling to his left, that starts putting pressure on his knee or his ankle, okay? So you can use this as a way to stop them rolling and start setting up your heel hook grips. One that's thought about a little bit less is bending the knee, okay? So if Ed's leg is straight and he rolls, and especially if his toes are pointed, like it's very hard for me to get any purchase on anything to stop him just rolling, yeah? So if you roll now, like nothing I do is really gonna counter that very well, okay? If you bend the knee, if I bend the knee here, and keep it bent, so don't like let's say we stay at this angle, try and roll that way, and you'll feel like the leg will stop that, okay? If you can straighten it, of course, he can go, but if it's bent, it will stop that, okay? He can only roll now by like bringing his hips over this way, okay? So he could go that way, like he can roll over the shin, but you've created like a new plane that he has to go through by bending the knee, okay? So this can really slow down someone's ability to roll. If I'm going for a heel hook, and one of the first things I do is bend the knee here, now he has to come this way to start to roll over, as opposed to just the fast roll, which would have been to the side. Okay, I've stopped that and I can start digging the heel from here. Another thing which stops them rolling is controlling the far leg. So if you can ever grab the far leg. Now, well, it's possible Ed rolls, but he doesn't gain any change in positioning relative to me. Yeah, so once I got both feet trapped, if Ed rolls left or right, that's fine. But we should end up in exactly the same spot once we've rolled through. Yeah. Whereas without it, it starts to get new positioning. All right, so we can do that from 50-50, the saddle. Often when people are trying to roll out of our leg locks, we often will have some sort of grip. While we're trying to catch the heel, we'll often have some sort of grip on their free leg to slow down their ability to roll. So we want to control our opponent's ability to rotate. Here's a summary of the ways we can do that. Again, this is really important. If I've got my right leg across, Kai wants to turn this way, it's much harder for him to make an angle on me. So as he goes, I can follow really well. Right? It's hard for him to out-rotate me when we do that. If my legs are crossed like this, it's harder for me to follow the rotation that way, but easier to follow him rotating that way. So again, if Kai goes to roll this way, this is hard for me to follow it because my leg doesn't track that. All right. Other things we can do, we can control the far leg. So if you control the far leg, basically now, anywhere Kaya rolls, I should be able to follow him when he tries to rotate, because this is going to keep me attached to him here. He can't like spin on the spot nearly as well. We can have some distal control, so like the toes can be really good. If you hold the end of the toes, Kaya goes to turn, this is going to stop him or slow him down at the very least. Bending the knee, so on a bent knee, if I put pressure, for example, if the knee's bent here and Kaya wants to roll this way, that's going to be, keep your leg bent. Yep, good. Try and roll. That's going to stop it. Okay. And similarly, if I put outward pressure and he tried to roll that way, that's also going to stop him. Whereas when it's straight, this ankle doesn't become a good lever and he can roll much easier. Okay. I said the toes are good. Some people use the heel. Some people hold this to try to slow down the roll too. So the other thing is sometimes you can't control them rotating, but you can rotate faster than them, which is obviously important for catching the heel. So for that, we need to make sure we're like coming up on our elbow, taking our shoulder through, and getting a chance to catch the heel like so. Okay, so trying to roll like chest down like this is getting very slow, but by coming up and rolling through, you can often outroll your opponent. All right, we're now going to be talking about finishing mechanics, like digging and finishing the heel hook. So we're going to start with this, making sure we get this right. It's an area I think, usually when I teach a seminar, I'll explain all these details and I go around and that's the area I think most people have trouble with, like how to dig the heel and how to secure a good heel hook, okay? So there's basically three phases to this. I want to expose the heel, I want to secure the heel, and then I want to actually get in position to finish the heel hook. Okay, so like with my hips. So we need to go through in that order. Okay, often one of the biggest mistakes people make is they do the wrong order. They try to like connect their hands before they've actually exposed the heel properly, and then the heel just slips. Okay. So let's have a look at exposing the heel. First off, you want to have their leg like across your body. So the knee wants to be on this side of my chest. Okay. It could be like you could pull the leg across the chest. That's ideal, like this. Or it could be that you brought your chest across too, so that the knee is now on the other side of my chest here. Because now I get good positioning to start to dig and finish the heel hook. Okay. Let's just have a look at what can do that. It can be my legs, so I can be pulling. I'm back heeling like we talked about earlier. I'm pulling my knees to the side. I'll often grip like over the top of the calf here and pull my elbow here, which makes it very difficult for Ed to not expose his leg here. Okay, so everything wants to pull, like my lower body wants to really be working to turn that knee outwards. Okay. I can also pinch like once you get some exposure, don't let them go back. So once you do like pull the knee across, right knee pulling towards the chest moving towards the knee. So it's actually kind of hard now for Ed to pull his knee back to the other side. Okay, so now I've got an exposed heel. All right. This is the same for outside heel hook as well. So I'm showing it on the inside, but same rules apply for outside. We also want, so to expose this, our first stage, which is exposing the heel. So we want to pull the knee across to this side of our chest. We want the foot dangling. Okay. One of the most common problems I see is people put the foot here first. Okay. It's now very difficult to dig the heel if Ed's hiding the heel. I want the foot dangling in space. Okay. So I want about this gap here. I'll often hold the ankle once I'm there, just to make sure it stays exactly where I want it. Okay. So we've pulled the knee across. I get my chest attached to the shin for a moment. I got the foot dangling. The next stage for exposing the heel. So let's just say Ed's pointing his toes a bit, so it's a bit more difficult. Yep. I'm going to elbow strike to dorsiflex his foot. Okay. I talked about this earlier. If his foot is pointed, it's a very poor lever to rotate the knee and expose the heel. So the first thing you're going to do is get your elbow to touch the bottom of the toes and pull back to your ribs. Okay, see how his foot is dorsiflexed now. Okay, point your toes, Ed. It should be hard to point, or at least difficult to. Okay, so he's starting with his toes pointed. Elbow hits the end of the toes and it pulls back like this. And then I want to cover with my chest. All right. So try and slip your heel, Ed. Yeah, it should be completely stuck. Okay. Really common problem. So I'm hitting with my elbow. Really common problem. People go armpit. Okay. First of all, is the foot dangling when I do that? No. Okay. I want the foot dangling when I elbow strike. Okay. Not here. Hide your heel. This is weak. There's a big gap to slip. If you kick forward, come forward. Yeah. He's going to slip his heel. All right. Will not work. Okay. Elbow locked in underneath, attached to my ribs. He's not going to slip his heel. So the other thing, once we do this, stay on your elbow, don't go to your shoulder, okay? On the shoulder, there's more chance that Ed can start to slip through here because I'm losing my elbow pressure, okay? So we do this, elbow strike, land on your elbow here, and we've now exposed the heel and chest facing the foot a bit. I think it's the other area where people mess up. I really don't want my elbow open at all, okay? We'll go over this in a moment later, but if I'm like this, to catch this, my elbow has to be open. Here, my chest is facing Ed. So I go like this, there's a big gap. It's hard for me to lock away that gap. He can slip through that gap. Or my chest facing down, covering the side of my ribs and chest covering that foot. Okay, now there's no chance of slipping. Okay. Let's just have a look at that for the outside heel hook, because it's the same. So all these principles, I grab the outside of the knee, I use my legs to pull it across, the foot is dangling. We're going to get elbow to the toes and pull it to the ribs here and get onto our elbow, and we've caught the heel here, and then we go on to our second phase of the heel hook. Okay, so this is another important point as well. When I go here, I don't just get the toes to the ribs and just go like that. Do you feel that's kind of okay? I want to pull everything underneath. So actually, instead of just going like that, I go like that. Right? See, my elbow goes more behind my back, and it will twist his knee in. It's going to help it get a little more of a belly down style position as well. Everything's going to be much tighter. Okay, so you should be able to tell me a big difference is here. Okay, like that. It's already getting the submission with before us finishing the rest of it, compared to where here there's more chance of fighting out. Another reason for when we dig the heel, why we want to pull our elbow back, is it removes abilities for hand fighting. So let's say we're in somewhere like 50-50, Ed's going to be reaching and trying to pull on this hand and so on. If I can pull my elbow back like this and cover with my chest, try and reach for my hand, reach with your foot as well. It's kind of annoying to dig away. Yeah, even if he gets his foot there, the ground's in the way, it's quite tough. Okay. If I'm sitting here like this, he will be able to clear that, and he will be able to reach with his hands and start hand fighting and peel that off. Okay, so we want to try and not just go here, but get your elbow underneath you, little elbow hop, like so, and cover with your chest. All right, Ed's going to go now from outside heel. It's definitely harder. This is much harder to dig the heel from generally, but the same principles apply. Okay, so I'm going to get the knee across the midline. So yeah, good. Yes, excellent. Okay, good. Catch under the toes, pull tight. Good. Yeah. Go back. I want you to. Okay, yeah. This is actually something I didn't talk about. So go again. Don't drop your elbow. Like catch the heel. Don't drop straight down sideways. I want you to actually pull like your elbow behind your back a bit more. Yeah, like kind of like you're falling. Yes. That's good. Yeah. Excellent. Go again. Expose, the foot's dangling. Excellent. Yes, much better. Good. Okay, try and catch it. All right, go again. I want you to try and catch my heel at the armpit. Yeah, common mistake here. Not gonna happen. Yeah. So there's a few different things you can be doing with your, like obviously the main aim eventually is to catch the heel with my right arm, but there's a few things before you've done that you might be doing with your left arm, some different controls, and you use them at different times, okay? So I'll go through what they are and their purpose so that you can kind of understand that as a little bit towards problem solving, okay? So first of all, like if we're trying to catch the heel, for me, a lot of the time I'll hold the ankle. It just means like I can put a bit of bending pressure. Like I'm holding the ankle, I'm putting good bending pressure on the leg, so it's harder for Kaya to free his knee. And I also know exactly, when I'm holding here, I know exactly where I'm gonna be able to elbow strike, okay? Whereas if I'm holding the knee, Kaya can move his foot a lot relative to where my elbow goes, and I might miss it when I wanna get the toes. When I hold here, I know exactly where it's gonna be, so it's a little easier to catch the heel like that, okay? Some people use a grip on, I actually don't use this very much, but a lot of people will use a grip on the heel here. I talked about the toes being good for preventing like rotation. Technically, the heel can be used to slow down their ability to rotate their leg. It's not as big of a lever, and some people will use that and dig the heel from here. My personal experience is we end up too close to the armpit, and it's too easy to slip the heel when we use this particular grip, okay? Compared to the ankle where we have the foot more dangling, okay? So remember, I want the foot dangling when I catch the heel hook, right? We can use the end of the toes as well. This is reasonably common, okay? This is a bigger lever, and we can have the foot dangling a bit better here as we catch the heel from there. So a lot of the time actually when I enter my leg lock positions, I'll have a grip on the toe just to slow them down for a moment, and I'll use this to like get my elbow over the top, okay? Once my elbow's in position, I don't try to keep the toe grip. Now I'm in my regular leg lock setting up position. So I'm gonna usually be changing my left hand to one of the other grips, okay? But I just wanna say I do use this toe grip reasonably often as a setup to get my elbow in. We can use some grips around the knee as well to help us expose the heel or prevent them from freeing the leg. So a common one is, as we will talk about in the finishing mechanics or exposing the heel area, we can reach across the knee on the inside and use that to pull the knee to the other side of the chest. So the purpose of that is to like get me good angle to now start attacking the heel. Okay, obviously that's going to be in combination with me pulling my knee back and my chest tight too. Okay. Sometimes, for example, in a position like this, I might be really worried about Kaya scooting his hips backwards, okay, like that, right? Now, if I grab that same grip here and you scoot backwards, Kaya, that's not enough, okay? He's gonna free that. So to stop that, we'll often feed our hand through. That can be on our own leg, on our shin, it can be on their leg sometimes if they're through. But you see, I'm basically creating a wedge here, and I'll put downward pressure on the lower part as well. So now if Kaya goes to scoot back, at least like I'll follow him here and I can stay attached to him, okay? Now, so this one's good for that. It's not as good for exposing the heel though. So if I do this, I can turn this way a little bit. It can still be hard to catch with. There's ways we can still catch with this grip, but it's not quite as good. Another one I'll commonly use is on top of the knee here. So sometimes, for example with this one, I might go to catch the heel, pull your knee towards your chest, and he lifts his foot up and I can miss it. Yeah? I go to catch it, pull up, and I miss the heel, right? If I feel like that's more of a danger than him scooting away, for example, like if my leg's keeping him from scooting away because I've got that pressure here instead of my arm, then I might use my other hand to hold the top of the knee. Now he can't pull his foot up. So then if I do my little bridge, for example, he can't like out time that and pull the the foot away compared to here, right? We did the same bridge here, and he pulls his foot up, I miss it, okay? So we're gonna use lots of different grips with this arm. The last one I'll talk about is we can be gripping the far ankle as well. Often when I do that, what I'm trying to do is just keep the foot off from kicking me, so I don't want it to come back too far. And I try to just keep it off the ground and out as wide as I can. The more wide it is, the better leverage. If you try to turn to your left curve, it's gonna make that harder, right? The more I pull against that rotation. If it's really tight here, you can still kind of roll over pretty easy, right? So I tend to pull it out a little bit and up as I start to dig the heel from there, right? So it's pretty hard to say, obviously in a roll, you're gonna have to start to learn when to use each of those particular grips, and understanding their purpose and what they actually achieve will help you break down what could be going wrong and what you could change if you're missing the heel. And one. All right, so the next stage, once we have dug, where we've exposed the heel, we want to start to connect our hands to finish. There's different grips depending on the scenario. Pretty much for inside heel hook, I once I connect my hands, it's almost always just left hand palm up, like locking against the shin here, nice and tight, and right hand palm down like this. So the hand that catches the heel, go palm down, and the other one palm up, and you should be able to connect your hands here. And when you get this, really important, you pull. I don't want that. The way out is he slips the heel, right? This way. That's the main way he's gonna get out. So you want to pull any gap here. I don't know if you can see that. I see people do heel hooks and they're here. Any gap there needs to be gone. Okay, so when I connect my hands, they pull in. My chest should already be covering that anyway, but I'm gonna pull in nice and tight. All right. I'll go over some other grips later, which we use more for outside heel hooks. For inside heel hooks, I pretty much always will finish with this grip. Now my initial grip can either be, is often like this, because when I get this false grip, see that gap there? When I catch this, which will often be there, but pulling back with that false grip, you can see I can curl my hand and pull back. If you go palm down, I have no purchase to pull back on. You feel a difference in tightness there compared to there. More difficult to slip. So often, catch like this first. I get my left hand in position, not open. Elbow should be locked to your ribs, tight against the shin here, and then I change and I pull that even tighter. Okay, so it should end up tighter overall once your hands are connected. Okay, so that's how we are securing the grip. Now, where do I want that? I kind of want my forearm next to the ankle here. Another common mistake: people are too deep here. You don't want your whole forearm showing here. My elbow. The problem here really is my elbow started to open, which is one of the biggest problems and gives it much more chance to slip. Okay, so it should be just your hand poking out. Okay, like this. Way harder to slip there than anywhere like this. Okay, so just your hand and near the ankle, too close to the heel, and again they might slip. So I want it kind of tight in here, and I'm leaning over the top, pulling in tight there. Right. Let's just go other side here, because there are some other grips you'll use depending. Right. If I catch the outside heel hook here, if everything's just standard like this, I'll just use a standard grip, and then we can go for our finish. Okay, but it changes a little bit. If Ed starts to pressure in and start to come across the body, you might see here, if he's come so far forward, it's very hard for me to hip in and finish with a bridge and keep tight pressure with my arms. This is really not doing much. Okay, so when they come forward like this, your left hand will come behind, and you can start to get there's different grips people use. Some people reach over the top, some people punch up. But you actually want your left hand to take over that roll. Your right arm is still locked down, and this now you'll probably feel there's some pressure. Okay, and that will give me a good ability to extend and get the finish. Just a little more. I said I often really prefer to use a false grip because I can get my chest over the top and I can really pull back on the heel here. And once I have this is really hard to slip the heel. I just should say, because I do often a grip that I'll get first, just for a moment, is rotating my hand palm down, and you can see it lifts the the heel up a bit. Okay, so it kind of exposes the heel a little more when I do this, and it's got you got like you feel like the bony part of your forearm here, of your radius here, will stop him from slipping the heel because the bone's in the way. Sometimes if I just go to catch, like if it's just exposed and I go straight false grip, sometimes there's more chance, if you slip just at that point, I might lose it there. So in reality, often my grip sequence is often like this first, and then I expose it a little extra, which is harder to slip for a moment with this like pronation sort of movement here. So turning my palm down and pulling the heel up with my forearm bone. And then once I have that, because it's hard for Kai to slip on the spot, the only way he can slip now is to kick in, okay? And he still could do that. So if he comes forward here, if I keep this grip, he might slip like that, right? But if I use that for a second to expose it and then change to a false grip, try and slip now. Okay, so often when you catch, it's gonna be like this, boom, okay? As opposed to, okay, here there's a chance just on the catch that he does slip, okay? Whereas if I go like this, it's a little tighter. All right, so now we're just going over securing the grip. So Ed's got his false grip, he's pulling in nice and tight, chest, get a bit more chest, yeah, that's good. So again, that elbow back is excellent, good, okay. So then show me how you do it. Good. Excellent. And then make sure when you connect, you're really pulling tight to your chest. So yes, feel the difference there? Yeah, now I feel like really stuck. Okay, so it looks the same if you're just watching. It looks like he didn't do anything, but he's changed his pressure to just like holding to, like, that's the thing, you're not trying to twist yet, you're really just trying to pull in nice and tight. Once he gets his like legs in position, then he can start to apply the finish, which we're gonna go over next. So a good test you can do is to see, get it with one hand. I want you like, when you get your false grip, and see if your opponent can slip their heel. Okay, so we'll go through slipping the heel mechanics later, but basically Ed's gonna try and check his heel through this gap here, okay? If your false grip is good, and you have your positioning right, that should not happen, so go. Okay, good, all right. Ed, you have a go. Let's do it on your bad side probably, so see if there's any chance. No chance. Good. Nice. Okay, so if it's done right, you should not feel like they can slip their heel. All right, so now that we've secured the grip, or sometimes it can be a little bit before that if you've just got your false grip as well, you might want to adjust how much bend there is in the knee. We're going to look to finish. Sometimes you have to adjust the amount of bend in the knee before you finish. Okay, so let's say Ed's fully straightened his leg, right? And I feel like, oh, my bridge isn't going to be that good and he might roll out. We can use our elbow to kind of adjust this pretty well. So I can bring my elbow closer to my hips to bend the knee, or further away to straighten it, okay? So Ed's here, I can go like this, and now his knee is bent, okay? So we're here, boom, okay? Just drop my elbow and shoulder closer to the mat. I don't fall on my shoulder, but it's closer to the mat. Right, now look at that. His knee's bent, I can start applying rotation, and I can start getting my hips in line to get the finish, okay? So once we have our grip in place and we want to finish, we can then apply any of those three different heel hook finishes that we discussed earlier when we were discussing how the heel hook works, okay? So I'm gonna just go from 50-50 where my legs are crossed, because that's probably the most likely position where I could use any of those three particular finishes. So I could have my arms in tight, I can do a pure rotational finish, so my elbow stays tight to my rib, and I start to rotate this way. I can drop my elbow down, but I don't open it, okay? So never use your arms to finish. It's a rotation through the body, and then we can just be purely twisting, or sometimes by doing that, it causes Ed's knee to become like side on to me, because you see now the side on of part of like the inside of his knee is now facing upwards, just like my hips are. Whereas before, it's the back of his knee. This bridge won't do anything. If we rotate and then we bridge, so I can finish with the bridge, or I could continue to rotate and that could finish too. We have our probably ideal finish, which is our bridge into the side of the knee. Okay, so that's where I get pure bridge. I can be back heeling, I can be stepping on the hips, and I'm purely side onto the knee here. a lot of my finishes will have like kind of a combination of those first two where I've rotated. I'm a little bit, not quite at the side of the knee, but the bridge will still help to like put pressure, but I'm also rotating as well. So you get like a combination of the two. And the last one, which we'll often see, like if I haven't actually caught like a good leg entanglement yet, his knee's bent and I've got some rotation here. Often from here, I can just take my thigh across the top of the knee and chop, as if I'm stepping on the ground here. You'll see that starts to straighten his leg, and that will, as long as his foot's rotated as I do that, that will apply pressure to the knee just by straightening his leg. Okay, so these are our three possible finishes. Each of these you're going to use in a different scenario. Okay, sometimes they're holding your leg. For example, if Ed holds my leg here, I'm not going to get a chance to like turn side onto the leg and bridge. I'm going to have to use a rotational finish. Okay. Similarly, he might be blocking my leg from coming across as a reap there, but I might still be able. Well, again, I can come for the finish here. Sometimes you can't like cut right across the hip, but you can go across the knee for the close of the knee. And obviously, ideally, when we can, we get side on to the leg, because to me this is the strongest finish. I get a pure bridge. Okay, I feel I can do the most damage with that. Although all of these can cause damage to the knee. All right, so Ed's exposing the heel, connecting, securing the heel. Okay, now it's time to finish. So let's just practice like that elbow hop first. So if you need to bend my knee, bring your elbow like yes. Good. That's it, good. Or if you want to straighten it, you can move away. Good. And kind of when you move away, go chest down a bit more. Yeah, because that's usually like when you're worried about hand fighting, right? So if you come in, if I'm too bent, sometimes like no one's here, you can just, yes, exactly. And you obviously from the saddle, the hand fight's pretty hard. But, okay, so now you can probably bring your hips are a little low on my knee. I'll just scoot like actually a little, so like they're right into the side of the knee joint. So just scoot back a little bit. Yes, good. Yeah, good, excellent. Okay, keep this flared out, back, and okay, so then you want to bridge in, and if you can close this knee down as you do that as well. Yes, good. Yeah, that's really good pressure. Okay. Sometimes like the person's doing this, and see you can't get like, maybe I was here, like it's a weird position, but like hard for you to bridge side on into the knee. Here you might keep your elbow tight, rotate me by bringing your like elbow towards me more than like yes, and kind of twist. Yes. So now I go here, and now you just bridge at the roof. That side, see that side onto the knee. That will still get it. Yeah. So guys, with that, the action to rotate is like that. See how my elbow stays tight? Not that where my elbow opens and I could possibly slip. Okay, so like that, as opposed to like sideways, like you're doing an uppercut almost. Yeah. Check that. One of the main things as well that we're trying to do, it's not always going to be the case, but if we can, we want to get side on to the leg. It's much easier to dig the heel if we're side on. Okay, so if I'm front on, like facing Kaya here, it's very hard to catch the heel and also have my elbow locked tight. If I can be side on, especially with my hips, but also with my chest, I'm almost like turning to face the heel. This will be way easier to catch, and I'm also in good position to bridge straight into the side of the knee. Okay, so that's what we're in our positioning generally, and that's why outside Senkaku is really nice. We get this nice side on position where we can catch the heel easy, and we're straight in our side bridge. In this section, we're going to go through how to defend the heel hook, the main ways that we can stop someone from catching us in a heel hook. I'm going to show you a bunch of different ways, and then at the end we'll go through linking the techniques and how to put all of these together, like what's the most important thing to be looking out for at each stage. Alright, so now I'm going to talk about defense and how we defend heel hooks. Obviously, when we're playing the leg lock game, we don't want to get caught in the heel hook, and we also need to understand what people are going to do to try to defend our leg locks so we can overcome their defenses. Right. Actually, one of the first things, if you can, try to get like the more range of this action here is called plantar flexion, where I point my foot down and even my toes down as well. The more range you have in that, the harder you're going to be for them to dig the heel. Okay, so if you're strong in that range, some people kind of stop like let's say I've got a poor range and I'm here, if Kaya digs his elbow to my toes here, it's gonna expose very easy, okay? But as I talked about earlier, if I'm like more flexible here and he digs, especially if he goes side onto the toes, it's not gonna turn the knee like it should, okay? So one way you can stretch that, or I actually do some stretches, like I put my forefoot on the ground. I'm more usually trying to stretch my midfoot than my ankle itself, although you can try to work on both. I'll kind of like put my forefoot on the ground and start to push to try to like stretch that range, okay? Your first defense, when your knee line is caught, that is, should always be to hide your heel, okay? That's the first thing you should focus on, okay? Kind of regardless of the positions in, you don't want to let them catch your heel. Some of these defenses we're going to show will work in certain positions, but not others. So sometimes something that's available in the saddle is not available in 50-50 and so on, okay? But I'm just going to go through the general defensive options, okay? So by hiding the heel, what I mean is I want to make it as hard as possible for Kaya to dig my heel, okay? So obviously if I just sat there like this, then I'm giving him a very easy chance to catch the heel. So I'm going to point my toes, straighten my knee, because remember the straight knee is easier to retract past the knee line. Although sometimes you will curl it a little bit as well. Point my toes, straighten the knee a bit, and turn my foot. It's actually like mostly my hip doing this. I want to turn my foot as far in as possible this way, okay? Now a little trick to this, the more I can get my hip out to the side, like that, the more I'll be able to hide that heel, okay? So you see here, it's much harder for Kaya to catch that, right? So if he tries to dig the heel here, that's going to be very difficult, okay? Whereas if my hips were on my right hip, even though I'm pointing my toes, that's going to be easy to catch, okay? So moving out to the side, pointing the toes, like so, okay? If they roll, usually they'll roll to chase us here, we roll, we have to follow that, okay? So if we stay where we are, Kaya can't catch my heel, but often he starts then rolling through. If I just stay here, he'll eventually expose the heel and catch it, okay? So I have to follow, point my toes, and roll through. Let's just look at the heel slip from the outside leg position. What I'll tend to do here, hiding the heel and the heel slip, I'm going to point my toes, and when I'm hiding my heel here, I almost want to like keep my heel attached to the side of the ribs here, right? My heel's attached to the side of the ribs. What that means is my knee ends up pointed outwards. Remember, when Kaya wanted to set up his finish, he wants my knee like across the far side of his chest. By focusing on putting my heel to the outside of the ribs here, like that. Now if Kaya's trying to dig the heel here, he's going to find that very difficult, okay? So I'm able to hide my heel like so. In addition to that, I'll often use my outside leg to lift my hips and rotate my hips out further. So I can even turn my knee. I see my knee turn even further. It'll be very difficult for Kaya to attack from there. All right, so sometimes another way to defend heel hooks is to cross your feet. Sometimes this is a bad idea, like in the saddle, it's generally a bad idea to cross your feet because you then give them a chance to control your far leg. But if my feet remain crossed, it's nearly impossible for Kaya to heel hook my right leg. So if he chose to catch that now, that's not going to work, okay? But when you cross your feet, it has to be your outside leg, your non-trap leg, over the top of your trap leg. If I lock it like this, he's probably got a good chance of still digging and finishing that heel hook. So we're hiding out. We're usually trying to avoid them catching the heel. At the same time, what's our other leg doing? You want to eventually be getting it, if you want to escape, getting it in position where you can start to push and make a counter pressure to free your knee line. Okay, so generally I want to come through in onto the thigh. It can be on this leg, it could be, if this leg was available, onto this leg as well. But now I have great purchase, okay? On the shin, probably not so good, but onto the thigh, excellent purchase. As long as he doesn't have my heel really well caught, you should always be able to push and escape your leg. Just remember, at the same time, you have to be like hiding your heel. So I don't want to turn this way and start trying to keep free. I'm giving him the heel, and actually, if you watch here, if I start freeing my knee, I actually put them closer to the line of, like, now his hips are right on the line of the knee. It was actually more safe when I was deeper in. As I start like freeing myself and he bridges, it actually gets worse on my knee. Okay, so make sure you don't do this. Or be careful trying to push and free your knee line. if someone's got an actual heel hook grip. Okay. Another option, which pretty much is more like a 50-50 specific one, but sometimes you can keep your heel really close to the hip. So instead of actually pointing and hiding the heel and like so, you can keep your heel really shallow. Okay. If I actively curling and keeping my heel here, Kaya tries to dig that, you see he won't get like good leverage here. Okay. We have some other defenses we're going to be using while we're doing this as well, but it's a common strategy to actually lock this down near the hip. Alright, so the heel slip, it's going to be hard to show you this if we start like, fully locked in heel hook. But like usually as they're trying to catch the heel, then that's the time to slip. Okay, so before the elbow's fully locked in, I want to be pointing my toes, and I want to look for any gap there is and try to kick through that. So Kaya goes to dig the heel. I'm going to try to put my heel usually through the gap where the elbow is. Okay, so I can't slip through the forearm. That's going to be a physical block here, but I can go through where the elbow is. So if I drive my foot forward and turn, I'll be able to slip that. So this is where I think a lot of people mess up because they're worried, they want to escape, they want to move backwards. So Kaya goes to catch the heel and we try to pull away and heel slip. Not going to happen. I actually have to come into him, forward and slip. Okay. So find that spot here, and that's where you're going to slip. The more they've opened their elbow, the easier it's going to be. The more you're pointing your toes already, the easier this will be too. So if my toes are pointed, Kaya's trying to dig the heel, I should find that pretty easy to slip through. And see, I'm driving off the ground here to slide my foot through deeper. Probably can't see that from the back. Maybe we'll do it from the back. Have a look from here. Kaya goes to catch the heel. I point my toes and I slide through here. Okay, now I'm safe. Okay, I've hidden my heel. I'm out of it. Start with. So Kaya's going to do a heel slip first. So you're going to start with your toes pointed. I'm going to go to dig. Yeah, and go. More like lift your hips up and into more. Yes, much better. Yeah. So even if I go to follow here, so go again, point and turn. Yep. I go to follow. Yep. Yes, good, excellent, very good. Okay, and let's have a go to toe slip now. So this time, be curling your heel towards your hip, towards my hip, like that. Yeah, good. So you'll see when I catch this, it's kind of like there's going to be a gap here. You try and get your toe in, like the inside of my bicep here, and then turn your foot out. Yes, good. So this will work particularly well. Like if I start trying to fall this way to finish, you'll be able to slip that. Okay. If I went here and I start trying to roll this way, you should be able to heel slip. Yes, good. Okay. So you can kind of read it. Go to heel slip. At the minute I'm fighting it, you should be able to. Yeah, good. Now, or if I start going this way, you should be able to toe slip. Excellent. Let's go through something that's very rarely taught, which is the toe slip. So for this one, I want to back heel as much as I can. So essentially, the heel slip. We go for the heel hook. The heel slip, I was trying to slip my heel through this gap. The toe slip, I want to take my toes through this gap. Okay. So first off, I want him like just to have the toes near the armpit, not down like here too much. So and I want to like back heel quite heavy towards the hip at pretty much at all times, like when he's trying to dig the heel from the 50-50. Okay, so as he goes for this, I'm here. My left foot is going to come in to the top of the shoulder, push it backwards, and that will give me room to slip my toes. Okay, so again, go here, boom, slip the toes. Now the toe slip and the heel slip, especially 50-50, work quite well together. Okay, so sometimes Kaya grabs the foot, grab the heel hook, and like if you were to try to just like twist and rotate that way, yeah, that means the heel slip will work really well, okay, because he's opening his elbow out to do that, yeah. Whereas if he tends more to want to like fall to this side, the heel slip's going to be really difficult, okay. But the toe slip will often give me a chance to slip out, okay. So you want to be really good at these two things, heel slips and toe slips from 50-50. Just know these are 50-50 based. The heel slip will work from the saddle, but generally not the toe slip because you won't have your other leg free. So if you go saddle, like this, my other leg won't be in play to start reaching for the shoulder. So it's just the heel slip that we're looking for here. Hand fighting and foot fighting tends to occur more from the 50-50 position, but so Kaya starts to dig the heel. I can actually, from here, I can sit forward and use my hands. If you look at the, not so much the case in like the outside Sukaku and so on, where the feet are across, I can't close the gap here, or from the saddle. But in the 50-50 itself, I can start to sit forward and reach to try to deal with this. Now, for this particular scenario, I want to take away Kaya's ability to extend his hips into me, okay? So, or like to bridge. So I tend to focus actually a lot on this outside arm, more so than this arm, okay? So if I pull here, you start trying to bridge now, Kaya. You see like that pulls against that quite strong. Sometimes I'll even like lock up like a rear naked choke on the arm here, try and bridge. Okay, so he can't get his hips in now because he can't extend through his upper body, okay? So I tend to focus mostly on here. Don't go to the hand, because here Kaya can like free that arm and then pull the heel back, like pull your chest forward and drop your elbow back, do a little elbow hop to face behind you. Go back, false grip. Yep, and then like pull your elbow behind you and turn my knee inwards. Yes, okay, now this is a very difficult angle. So if I'm holding this, he just frees his hand, connects his hands, and I've got no hand fight. Okay, so we go back, and I want to be just fighting here. I really want to like get in tight, somewhere near the elbow here. And then at the same time, you're going to be working to toe slip and which we'll go over in a moment, or foot fight. So I can start using my other leg to start pushing this hand, clear it past the heel, and take my leg back out, back to crossing my feet is usually the obvious follow-up, okay? So again, I tend to go hand fight, foot comes in, try to get underneath the hand, peel that off, get back to good position. Another option we've got, particularly from outside Ashi, but it can sometimes be the case in the saddle as well, is to try to stack our opponent. So while he's down, Kaya can really drive his hips into my knee, sometimes by coming up and pressuring in. Here, like I can put his hips over his head, and it's like quite heavy for him to try to extend through. And while he's doing that, I can start working my heel slips to escape from there. This one's not advised unless you are quite deeply caught in not advised unless they've got a good heel hook, but they have no like control of your knee line. So let's say Kaya's got opened legs and he catches my heel here, and that's rolling with, so he's caught that, and I can roll with the heel hook here. So if everything here is open, I should actually be able to outroll how fast Kaya can try to apply the pressure. So generally when we do this, we come up, we straighten our leg, and we roll through like so, okay? But if he's got good leg positioning, that will kill my roll, and I'm gonna like actually get caught quite badly if I attempt this escape. All right, so let's just go through the basics of defending the heel. The two main ways you're going to defend getting heel hooked. First of all, your knee line is free. Okay, so if my knee line is free, then I can't get heel hooked. As long as I can keep my knee line lower than his hips, he will not be able to finish the heel hook. Okay. Second most common way is to hide the heel. Right? If my heel is hidden and he can't actually dig the heel hook, then he's never going to actually get a chance to set up and get the finish. All right. Now let's go through some of the other things we can do to defend. All right. If my heel happens to be exposed, one thing is I can cross my feet, depending on the situation. So for example, in 50-50, this is often a good idea. In the saddle, so this leg's over. It might not be such a good idea from here, because then he gets to control my far leg, which can be the worst scenario. All right. We'll go back to 50-50. So we obviously want to hide the heel. Anytime you try it, so across the feet, if you're in 50-50. Otherwise, in, for example, the saddle, you're always basically trying to hide your heel. If Kaya starts trying to roll to follow, then I'm going to keep rolling and making sure I point my toes. Hips are out, so not just my foot, right? It's my hips moving out, everything. I really need to turn my toes away from Kaya. It can't just be like just my foot pointed like that, that's not enough, okay? Toes pointed, hip up, like so, right? If Kaya starts to catch the heel, we can do the heel slip, okay? To do the heel slip, I come forward and I try to put my heel into the gap here of the elbow, and then I turn it into like a hiding the heel position and I maintain a hidden heel, all right? If Kaya goes for the heel hook again, so let's say from 50-50, this is a particularly useful one, I can do the toe slip. I can kick at his toe, his shoulder, and slip my toe through this gap. Okay? That's going to be easier. Like if I can keep my heel closer to the hip, it's much harder for Kaya to get a good grip, and I can slip that nice and easy.